So we have Spider-Man. He is one of the many DPS characters we have in this game. He is one of the most popular superheroes of all time, so I'm sure a lot of people want to learn how to play him and play him correctly because you do see a lot of Spider-Man go like 2 and 12s and don't swap and don't say anything. Spider-Man doesn't kill, all that stuff. If you're trying to learn how to actually play him at a very high level, I'm your man. I hit Celestial 1 last season. I probably could have hit Eternity, but I just didn't feel like playing this game anymore close to the end of the season. I was a top 200 Spider-Man at my peak, so I am what I'd say a reputable source for skill and all that. So yeah, I'm gonna give you this pretty quick guide on how to play him at a very high level and make sure that you're not, throwing all the games you're playing in just because you want to have fun on your favorite superhero. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing I would say every Spider-Man needs to do is to hop immediately into their settings, go into keyboard, go and make sure you have Spider-Man selected, go down to hero, make sure you have hold to swing on and automatic swing off, do whatever you want with the rest of the settings, but I would recommend having these on at the bare minimum. Automatic swing, that'll give you your main control over where you swing and how far you want to go and that sort of thing. And hold to swing, that is a very convenient change to do. That'll just let you immediately stop swinging when you want to stop swinging, and you don't really need to worry about hitting the shift key again before you can stop. So at the bare minimum, have those on or change those from their normal setting, and then I like to have hold on both of these so that way I can just have a little bit more control over when I want to run on the walls versus when I don't. So and the only other thing you need to worry about is having get over here targeting set to a different key than what your get over here ability is set to. I have this one set to my mouse control, and then I have this one set to the normal E, and that lets me just, when I put a tracer on somebody, I can instantly pull myself towards them without needing to worry if I accidentally pull out my hook first when I want to actually pull myself towards them. So at the bare minimum, have your settings like that. Alright, so here is an ability breakdown for all of Spider-Man's attacks and abilities and stuff like that. For the punch, that's going to be 2 punches and then a kick will come out. Each of those punches does 25 damage a pop, and they have 3-meter range. They have a pretty short cooldown as well, so they come out pretty quick. And then the third one in the combo is going to be a kick. That only happens if the first 2 punches go uninterrupted, and that kick does 40 damage and has a 4-meter range, so it's got a little bit more distance, and it takes over 2 times as long than the punches to come out, so it is a little bit longer of a cast time. And next up is going to be your right click. That is the web cluster. It does not have any bullet drop, and it is a fairly slow moving projectile, so keep that in mind when you're aiming. It takes 2.5 seconds to reload a single one of them, so 12.5 seconds to reload all 5. You can have up to 5 at any given time. And there is damage fall off after 20 meters with 50% at 40 meters. And you cannot crit with these. And when you do hit an enemy, it gets applied a spider tracer. That is that little web icon that shows up above their heads. And if you hit that enemy with a melee attack or any of your other abilities besides the get over here attack, it will cause an additional 45 damage to be applied. So it's a good way to deal in a little bit more damage while you are attacking. Next up is the uppercut. So that is going to be a 55 damage attack that hits everything within a 5-meter circle of yourself. So everything above you, below you, in front of you, behind you, to your sides, everything within that 5-meter range is going to get hit. You have up to 2 charges of them at any given time. It is a 2-second cooldown before you can use it again, and it takes 6 seconds for that charge to come back. So use them somewhat sparingly, but it is a pretty good way to gain height if you're falling off the map or if you're trying to carry momentum or something like that as well. Next up is your get over here ability. So that is going to be a 20-meter range projectile. It travels slower than the right click does, and it does 25 damage on hit. So it is not a very damaging attack, but it does stun things, so keep that in mind. It can cancel a lot of ults. It is really good for pulling somebody out of position and getting your team to focus them, so it is one of your most useful utility. It takes 8 seconds to recharge, and you only have the 1 charge of it, so use it very well. And if you have a spider tracer applied to the enemy, you have up to 24 meters distance with that, and you can hit your get over here targeting ability, and that will pull you into them. That does 50 damage, same cooldown, all that. But the main reason why we separated those 2 things before is so even when you have a tracer applied, you can still hook them in and then you can hit them. And then for your main movement, you're going to have your web swings. So when we turned off automatic swing before, now you can find a surface, grab onto it, and swing all around. If you find a surface that is above your head, above head level, you're going to start doing a swing, and that's just going to swing you under where you want to go. And then if it's below head level, you're just going to pull yourself directly to it. It's like a web zip rather than a web swing. So if you're higher above something, then you can just pull yourself directly where you want to go. And then you'll do a little bit of the somersault animation, and we can get into canceling that in a little bit. That is the basis for your B hop. So once you learn that later, that is what's going to start it. So when you're web swinging, you always pretty much want to let go before you reach the top height of your swing, because if you keep holding until the top, you're going to go into this animation that's going to make you like soar really high. But the thing is, you're really easy to hit and it kills all your momentum. So I would not recommend doing that very often unless you're just trying to get height and like reposition for another play. That is the only reason you want to be using that sort of thing. The web swing also has a 30-meter range, so you can be 30 meters away from the thing you're trying to connect to, and it will let you swing all the way to that. You also have a maximum of 3 charges at any given time. There is no cooldown between these, so you can spam them out as much as you want, but it does take 6 seconds for those things to recharge, so use them somewhat sparingly, because if you run out of them, you don't have really any other options to get out of there real fast, and you are very squishy, so keep at least one up at all times. Next up, you have your double jump, so that is called thwip and flip, so you're going to be able to, at any time after you jump up, you can do a double jump. So this, as long as you're in the air and you have any sort of height off the ground, it will let you double jump. You can also reset your double jump by going into a swing, and then you can double jump, and then you can reset it again by using your uppercut, and that will give you another double jump as well. So you have technically up to 3 if you double jump, swing, double jump, uppercut, and then you can double jump again. So it's a really easy way to gain height, but it does kill all your momentum if you're in a web swing and then you just double jump, or you let go, you're swinging, you have a ton of momentum, you double jump, and it kills it all. So just keep that in mind when you're playing Spider-Man. You don't use your double jump always. That's more of a way to just gain height and stuff like that. So your first passive ability is going to be your Spider Sense. That is going to be an 8-meter sphere around you that will let you know if there's an enemy within that you cannot see. So if they're behind a wall and then they get within that area, you'll get notified if they're there. This isn't super helpful for main gameplay, but it is helpful if you're just waiting for an enemy to come around a corner, and it lets you know when they're there, so it just kind of prepares you a little bit more. But other than that, it's pretty much useless. And then for your wall crawl, I have it set to hold like before, so that way if I accidentally run it against something, I can just let go of my spacebar and not need to worry about hitting it again. But your wall crawl speed is going to be 3 meters per second, so pretty slow. Your base movement speed is 6 meters per second, so it's somewhat fast. And then your sprinting speed, once you're running on the wall, you run at 9 meters per second. So this is technically your fastest running movement speed is when you're on the wall. So the last ability you have is called the Suit Expulsion. This is the Venom team up that you get if you have a Venom on your team and you're playing Spider-Man or Penny Parker. But it is a 5-meter cone around you, so it's the same range as the uppercut. It is a 1 second long thing. It gives you complete immunity to all attacks, because before it was a 50% immunity, but it lasted 4 seconds, so now you cannot die during it. So it's a good way to cancel like Scarlet ult if you miss your stun on them. It will allow you to just not take any damage, so you don't need to just use it for combos or that sort of thing. Sometimes it is better to just save your life with the combo or with the ability rather than saving it for a combo. But it does have up to 2 hits if you hit them with the first thing, with the first hit right out the gate. And then if they stay within that radius, like if you're uppercutting them and they stay within that radius, then you can hit them again for another hit. And each of those hits does 50 damage. So it can do up to 100 damage, but primarily you're just going to be using it to finish out a kill. It also is on a 30-second cooldown, so you won't be able to use it very often, but it is there just for guaranteeing a lot of one-shot combos. And then last up is going to be your ult. So what this is going to do is going to be an 8-meter radius all around you. It's going to last 2.4 seconds, so it can dish out a lot of damage in that time. Each hit is 0.08 seconds, and it does 12 damage. You also gain 250 overshield while you're in it, so it gives you a little bit more survivability. You move very slow while you're in it, so you still have some movement, but not very much. If you have an enemy in your radius for 1.6 seconds, it will stun them, and it will allow you to kind of finish out a combo. If they're on a tank or something, you hit them with a whole ult, and then you can hit them with a web cluster and then uppercut them and hopefully finish out a kill. All right, let's get into some combos. So the bread and butter combo that most of you guys are probably going to be doing right out the gate is going to be applying a web tracer, pulling yourself in, and then hitting them with the uppercut. This does about 200 damage, so they'll have just a little bit of health at the end. So most of the time people will put in the Venom combo, and that's going to look like this, where you apply the tracer, pull yourself in, uppercut, and then hit them with with the Venom team up, and that will usually take him out pretty good. Only problem is if you're doing that on a enemy that has 275 health, that will not kill him out the gate, and you'll need to either hit him again with another tracer or do something else that will knock out that last bit of health. So one other crucial thing you need to know about Spider-Man is going to be the downward slam. That usually comes out in one of two ways. Either you're going to swing and that will let you use it, or you're going to double jump and that's going to let you use it. So this is the same as the kick. It'll do the same damage as the kick, same range as the kick, all that sort of thing. So 40 damage, 4 meters radius, or 4-meter range. So what most people are going to do instead of double jumping or using a web swing and actually swinging on something is you're just going to cancel a web swing without aiming at anything, and you're going to hit a web tracer as well. That'll guarantee that it actually comes out. Plus, if you hit the web tracer, it's going to deal way more damage. So if they're getting healed in the combo, you have a better chance of knocking them out. So what that's going to look like is you're going to pull yourself in, uppercut, and then you can hit them with it. So your upward or your downward slam is probably the easiest way to guarantee more kills, and you can have up to 2 at any time. So if you do a web swing and then you double jump, you can actually have 2 go at one time. So it's a good idea to filter those in during your combos. One good combo that doesn't even use your hook attack is it's going to start with a downward slam. So you're going to double jump into a web tracer, into another web tracer, into an uppercut. And that's going to easily dish them out before they have really a chance to react. And then there's one that only uses punch, right click, and an uppercut, and it takes them out pretty fast. So on 250 HP characters, you're going to apply a tracer, punch him, apply another tracer, and uppercut. That is going to usually take him out pretty fast. The only problem is they actually have to just be close to you already. So sometimes it is hard if they have good movement or if they're getting healed at any point in that combo. So on a 300 HP character, the most efficient combo is going to be the plink. So you're gonna apply the tracer, you're gonna pull yourself in, uppercut, cancel the web swing with a tracer, and then you're gonna downward slam them, and then that will take them out pretty consistently, especially if they're locked in your combo after the uppercut. In general, there are a ton of combos you can do with any Spider-Man, especially if you're going against any tanks, because you just kind of need to dish out as many attacks as you can without kind of stopping. So as long as you can get your damage out, then that's really all you need to do. One-shot combos are really tough to get out in this game. You can learn as many as you want in the practice range, but actually doing them in gameplay is going to be the hardest part of playing Spider-Man. So learn as many combos as you can, look up more that I didn't tell you, but those are just a few basic ones that you can try to learn. For B-hops. B-hops are the most crucial movement tool that you can learn, especially if you're within closed spaces. So if you're within a door and you can want to try to swing out and you don't want to be stuck in that somersault animation, grab right above the door frame and boom, you hit the door frame. So what's the best way to counteract that? You're going to learn how to B-hop. So basically what that is you're going to do a web zip towards the ground, and right when you hit the ground, you're going to cancel it, or right before you hit the ground, you're going to cancel it with a right click, and that will cause you to just halt all your momentum right there. But the thing is, it actually allows you to carry that with a normal jump if you manage to hit the ground, and you can actually carry all your momentum. And then something else that is technically a B-hop, but not really, it's like an air B-hop, is if you go from a higher height, you aim towards the ground and then you uppercut before you hit the ground. If you hit the ground at all, you'll lose all your momentum. But if you manage to uppercut before you hit the ground, you're going to gain vertical momentum and you're going to carry all the momentum from your web zip. So it's a good way to gain instant speed. And then if you want to mix the two, you can just uppercut right after you do the B-hop, and that will let you just gain a lot of speed without a huge runway or without a ton of room to do it. So the B-hop does not need to only be generated from a web zip as long as you fall less than a double jump like height. So if you double jump, you'll notice that you can instantly hop when you reach the ground. So as long as you fall that height and that height as your maximum, you can still B-hop out of it. So say I start down here, I can pull myself up and then B-hop right when I hit the ground just by letting go. I don't need to cancel it with anything else. As long as I don't go into that like nosedive animation, I am able to B-hop. So now we're going to go into the web pull guide. So this is a culmination of everything that you've learned so far. It is the fastest way to one-shot anything in the game as long as there's an edge to pull them off. So most people, they start out by just finding an edge that's close to the enemy, jumping back, grabbing them, and pulling them off. And even simpler than that, you have the Hydra Super Soldier Factory base, where you can stand on one side of the lava pit and just kind of pull people and fish as they're walking by. But that is a little hard because your range is not that far, so you have to rely on luck or just people being stupid in order to pull people off. So that's usually the best way, is by just standing next to an edge, jumping backwards, grabbing them, and then hopping back on once they're off the map. Only problem with this one is you don't pull them very far, so if they have any sort of movement abilities like a double jump or something, most of the time you cannot guarantee that sort of kill. So there are other ways to counteract that if they don't have any other movement besides a double jump, so they only can jump vertically and not super far horizontally. Also, make sure when you're doing this is that you don't walk too far back and then you use your double jump and then you try to double jump again and then you just fall off the map. So just remember that as you're playing. And then the first web pull that you can do is with a B hop. You're just going to run by, grab them, and then double jump at the same point. But notice how far they get pulled off. Most of the time, if they just have a double jump, there's no shot they can get back unless they have other movement abilities as well. The best way to practice this is right here in the shooting range. I recommend just standing right here, doing a B hop, and then pulling them as you turn around. And the faster you can turn around and like not look straight at the ground as you're doing your B hop, the more consistent you will be at doing this. And since you can also chain B hops together, you can start a B hop way back and then grab them and then do the same thing. You also don't need to only do B hops or any other sort of those. You also don't need to do B hops to pull people off. You can just swing by and then pull them as you're flying by, and it will do the same effect. Just make sure you don't get too low. And then the last one that usually is more common on like domination maps or anything of the sort to really guarantee that you're pulling them really far is to do a uppercut B hop, and then you just pull them off as you do that. The one thing you need to learn for doing this though is called the uppercut animation cancel. So this only happens with a web swing. The only ability you can use while you're in an uppercut to cancel it is your web swing, and luckily that one doesn't get used as you're using it. You can try it yourself. Literally nothing else works until the animation is totally over, except for like your Venom team up or your ult. Those still work too, but obviously we're not trying to use those if we're trying to cancel an uppercut. So all we're gonna do is right when we uppercut, we're just gonna try to spam out that web zip as soon as we can. So if you're in the shooting range, turn the ability cooldown off and spam the ability as much as you can. And then once you finally get that down, you can try to go from a web swing immediately into your grab. So if you do it right, it doesn't even look like your web swing came out, but you'll hear both happen. So you can kind of practice it on these guys where you just kind of, whip them a ton of times. And if you do it right, you'll know. And then once you put all those together into the uppercut B hop, into a uppercut cancel, into a pull, then you'll be able to pull enemies really far off the map and they won't be able to react in time usually. There are just a few things you need to know generally about playing Spider-Man. The first of them being is that your hook is probably your most important utility that you have for team play, because you are able to pull enemies out of position, cause your team to focus them without them having enough support in the backline. From their backline, and then they will die much faster than if you hadn't have pulled them. Just also having this decision making that, like, sure, you can pull yourself towards the enemy if they're running away, or you can pull it into your team and guarantee that the kill actually happens, instead of pulling yourself towards them and then you're the one that gets focused because now you're in their backline. So just keep that in mind as you're playing Spider-Man, that your pull can be used for more than just pulling yourself in, but rather to pull them towards you. One other tech that a lot of people think is a glitch is when you're playing against a Scarlet Witch, a Invisible Woman, or a Cloak and Dagger. If any of them phase away into their like mode that they can't be touched in, if you hit your pull, like if you start pulling them before they start that, but they start it after you get that attachment, you'll actually pull yourself towards them still, and it will cancel whatever ability they're using. So if they are in a Cloak and Dagger, you hit them, you start pulling yourself in, and then they vanish, they will actually get hit still. They'll get out of their vanish, and then you can just finish them out usually. So if they're not fast enough with it, you can easily guarantee a kill. That also goes for Scarlet Witch, where they usually will just panic, phase out, and then you can just kill them. So usually throw that web tracer on them and then immediately pull yourself in. They're going to try to phase out and then you just kill them anyway. So, and then the last thing you need to do as a Spider-Man is just learn who has what movement abilities. Most characters in this game don't have good movement abilities, but there are a ton with double jumps or levitation or that sort of thing. If you can pull in a Magneto, he can float down, maybe use his ult, but hey, he made him use his ult. But if you find like a Groot or something on the other team, you pull them off, boom, that's like 20% ult charge right there. Then you pulled a 850 health character, and then you just win the game because they don't have any movement. So just know, like, for example, Venom, even though he has a web swing, he can climb on walls. If you get him pushed out far enough, he doesn't have a double jump. And if you see that he used his dive and he used his web swing like 2 seconds before, you say, ooh, that has like a 6, 8 second cooldown. Let me just pull him off. So also, you need to learn when to stop engaging. I see a lot of low level Spider-Man and a lot of high level Spider-Man even. They will stay in the fray for way too long when they can pull back, get healed, and then re-challenge from a different angle. One of the easiest things and the hardest issues to fix is the cooldowns that you have. It is super easy to run out of cooldowns and then you have nothing left and you're stranded in their backline with nothing to do besides a few double jumps maybe. But that's not going to save you if you have no swings. So just make sure that you keep something that you can at least get out of there with, or you just save enough abilities that you can just re-challenge soon enough. So it's the best thing to just keep yourself alive and just be a nuisance in their backline. Even if you aren't getting a ton of kills, just try to have as little deaths as you can. But yeah, I think that was it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you like more content, and I might upload some more gameplay videos if I end up playing this game a lot more. But it's been Psycho. See ya.